You are tuned in to Kids
In the Pit.
Hey guys, it's Gabe from the Kids in the Pit podcast. Wait, 1 second. There we go.
Yeah, all right. I like it.
Okay. Today I'm joined by Brian McTernan from the band Be Well. Brian, thanks so much for doing this. I love Be Well so much. I saw you guys a bunch of times last year, and you even pulled me up on stage to sing along a few times, which was so much fun. You're also a big part of why I started this podcast. My mom and I were listening to a podcast you were on in the car one day, and she said something like, you could totally have a podcast and interview people. And she chatted with her friend Rob, whose podcast you've been on, and he actually came up with the name Kids in the Pit. So shout out to Rob from My Life in Notes. Check it out on Spotify.
Very cool. Yeah, I love you, Gabe. I love your mom. I love your dad, and I love Rob. So this is starting off on a good note here.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, now for some questions. For those that don't know, what do you do in Be Well?
I sing and Be Well.
Nice. Okay, so what year did Be Well start?
I think we played our first show in 2019. I can't believe that. Yeah, 2019.
Wow.
I started writing the songs for a few years before that, but that I used to sing in a band called Battery, and we had just gotten back from a European tour with H2O, and H2O, while we were on the tour, asked us if the new band could play a couple shows, and then here we are 4 years later.
That's cool. I love H2O so much.
They're
really
so great.
Yeah.
How old are you, Gabe?
11.
Morse when I was your age, if you can believe that.
What?
I was 11 when I met Toby from H2O for the first time.
That's cool. I saw you guys for the first time at the beginning of 2022 in Baltimore because I had just gotten really into hot water music, and your band opened up the show. It was at the Auto Bar, which is one of my favorite venues. I had heard some Be Well songs in my mom's car. I really only knew the song Magic, so I was singing along to some parts of it during the show, and you noticed and reached into the crowd and gave me a high five. Soon I got more into your band and learned way more lyrics and sing along to way more songs at every show. Now you're one of my favorite bands.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I love when I see you at the shows. It's very cool.
Yeah. My favorite Be Well song is I'll Leave You With This, and my mom actually got a tattoo of some of the lyrics. What song do you suggest someone not familiar with Be Well should check out?
I think that's a good starting place. I also think Confessional is another, I think those kind of, and then I would say if you like the faster stuff, maybe Treadless. So those would be 3 good starting places.
Okay, cool. And we'll also see you this weekend at the First Unitarian Church with Grovis.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
I haven't played there in 25 years.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy, right?
I went there once to see the Flatliners.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm also a big Flatliners fan.
Yeah. So I heard you started doing shows when you were really young like me. How old were you when you went to your first show, and who played?
I was 10 when I went to my first show. And
I beat you by a year. I was 9.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. The first show I went to was Uniform Choice, Soulside, Moral Discipline, and The Flaming Lips.
Oh, cool. I don't think I know any of them, but that's still cool.
And it was 1986.
Wow.
A long time, maybe 87. I don't know. A very long time ago.
My dad was born in 85, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you started singing in your old band Battery when you were really young too. How old were you when
Yeah.
you first joined Battery, and how old were you when you first sang on an album?
Well, I first joined Battery when I was 14, so I was in 8th grade,
Wow.
and that's when I first recorded. And it was an interesting how it came together was interesting because they didn't have a singer and they didn't expect me to sing in the band, but when they would I would go watch their practices. They were friends of mine, and because they didn't have a singer, I would sing at practice and then we'd play covers and I would sing. And they went to the studio to record the demo to try and get a singer. And the guy recording it, I had been explaining to him that I sing at practice. And so he said, okay, well, why don't you just go and lay down what you do at practice and then I'll run it off for them with and without your vocals. And I sang on it. It came out really cool. And then I was the singer of the band.
Nice. So how old were you when you first got to go on tour, and what was your favorite place you've ever toured in?
First tour I did, I was 15. And I went to, I played guitar in a band called Ashes, and we went to the West Coast. And I didn't even drive yet. So we were all just in high school. So we were getting driven by the guys that were putting our records out from show to show. And
Nice.
yeah, so I was young when I got started. Not as young as you, but
Yeah. I hope to be in a touring band by 15. I went on tour with Unearth just like for 4 days because my mom sold the merch. Uh, yeah.
that's very cool. You've gotten a good head start. What do you sing, you play guitar, you play drums, you play bass, right?
Yep.
That's the whole thing. Now you just got to rope all your friends into getting instruments and then start a band.
Yep. Well, and also get them into hardcore and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, funny story is when I was in junior high school, I got I did that's what I did. I got all my friends to get instruments and then I got them all into hardcore. And we all started going to shows on the weekend. And this guy Tim, who record label called Jade Tree, and he put out all these records. We all went to this show by this hardcore band called Release, and we all bought Release t-shirts. So Tim started calling my school Release Elementary. It
oh, nice.
was pretty funny. Yeah.
So, what was your favorite movie as a kid?
Suburbia
Oh, nice. I just watched that recently.
is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's good. I
Yeah.
hate the scene where the kid gets hit. Well, wait. Spoil if you don't if you guys if anyone watching hasn't seen Suburbia yet and you want to just like fast forward like 30 seconds or something. Okay. I hate the scene so much where the little kid gets hit by the car.
Yeah. It's awful. Yeah. It was a pretty like jarring movie when I was a kid, but it just seemed so dangerous. It seemed like wild. And
Yeah.
I like really was intrigued by like all the punk stuff and it just seemed I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was very punk rock.
Yes.
Like if there was punk rock in one movie, it'd be that.
Yes.
So, okay. So for those that don't know about you, you are so much more to punk and hardcore music than just the singer of Be Well. You've produced some of the greatest punk and hardcore records of all time, including my favorite album ever, Caution by Hot Water Music, tons of albums like Strike Anywhere, and so many more. So how did you get into record producing, and what are a few records you're most proud of?
Um let's see. It's hard to know how exactly I got into it. I mean, it was when when I was a kid, I was basically doing what you do, which is, go in the basement and record myself and then I didn't ever really do that well in school. And when all of my friends were going to college, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life and just decided to try and record bands. And I kind of pretended I knew what I was doing for a while and then
Nice.
slowly learned what I was doing.
And
Uh,
it
I
worked
think you've
out.
named a bunch of my favorite. I mean, you know, there's too many to list, but I mean, Strike Anywhere, Hot Water Music. Um, I'm especially proud of those bands only because I've gotten to do so many records with those bands, and they're some of my favorite people and favorite bands too.
Cool. So where's your recording studio located and what's the name of it?
It's in Baltimore and it's called Salad Days, and it's been in lots of different places, but I'm in the process of finishing building. Will probably be the last version of it here in Baltimore.
Cool. Named after a Minor Threat song, which is kind of cool.
Yes, named after a Minor Threat song. A fantastic Minor Threat song too.
I don't know if I've heard it, but I know that it's named after it. So
yeah, it's a great song. One of my favorite songs of all time.
Cool. So I know you have a daughter because you sing about her in some of your songs, and you've told me about her a little. How old is she, and is she into the kind of music we are into?
She's 15 and she's not into the kind of music we're into. She's into show tunes, and she's very into acting and singing, and she really likes like Broadway musicals and things like that. So that's what she listens to.
Cool. My brother isn't into like hardcore or punk at all either. Well, he kind of likes he likes Metallica, which is metal, and he also likes For You're Strong, kind of, you know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's mainly into like pop and stuff.
Right.
Or mainstream.
Well, he has a lot of life to figure out. I mean, I wish my daughter, sometimes I wish that she was into kind of punk and hardcore and stuff like that, only because I think that like for me a lot, I gained so much. There's such a sense of community in the punk and hardcore world, and I've made so many friendship. I mean, aside from the music, I've met so many awesome people doing this and through going to shows that I hope that she finds a way to meet people in that way. When you're into stuff that's a little more mainstream, it's a little bit harder,
Yeah. And also shows are like more expensive because they're way more.
Yeah, and like like the thing that's so cool about hardcore shows is like you go and the band's all there, and you can just walk up and talk to them, and there's no where you go to like a Broadway musical and you might have to stand in line for 2 hours just to get an autograph, and you're never gonna talk to the performers.
Yeah, you're gonna have like 20 seconds of talking, maybe probably less. But
and you're probably not going to like become lifelong friends with a bunch of people that also just happen to be at the show. It's just not. It's a different,
Yeah.
I mean, almost everybody in my whole life that's important to me is I met through music, so it's I hope that she finds something. I mean, it doesn't have to be music, but something where she's able to find that for herself.
Yeah. I've met so many awesome bands and people like you. So that's one of the reasons I love hardcore so much, because I have so many like friends. Like my best friend, she's Pete Kohler's daughter from Sick of It All, and I'm like best friends with her now.
Oh, okay.
And
my first show I ever played, bud, was with Sick of It All.
Oh, that's awesome. Wait,
yeah,
so
when I was in 8th grade.
So with Ashes?
No, with Battery.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to see them 5 times next month. Yeah, in March. It's like a 30-day tour with Life of Agony or something. I think it's like 20 actually.
I love Sick of It All. How did you meet Pete's daughter?
Well, my mom, she sold merch for them for a while, and we just went to the show, and we went because I liked Sick of It All, and we went backstage, and then we just became friends because she was backstage.
I love that.
She was on the tour, so yeah, it was really fun.
I love that. That's great. That's so cool.
Yeah. So
if you talk to him, tell him I'm a super fan.
Okay. Well, if you could be an animal for a day with the promise that you won't be killed or eaten, what animal would you choose?
Probably a dolphin.
Nice. I like dolphins.
Sometimes I'll be at the beach and I'll just see them like jumping and diving in the water, and they're so smart and they seem so happy.
Yeah. And also they can like really hurt sharks because they know where to attack them. right? They just headbutt them in the gills. It's really,
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
pretty
dolphins
wild.
are really
They're like
smart. They know
beautiful,
where to,
beautiful animals.
yeah. So if you could tell your 11-year-old self anything at all, what would you tell him?
Um, I would say that you're, I mean, I think when I was your age, I didn't realize how how many ups and downs there were going to be in life. And I think that I would say, you're going to have failures, you're going to have your heart broken, you're going to have disappointment, and try and not define yourself by your failures. But I would also say, try and you'll have successes and wins, and maybe don't try and define yourself by that either. I mean, like, because the thing is, like, when you define yourself and your vision of life by things that are just not completely in your control, like, it can be hard. Like, I've tried to focus on defining myself by like being a good person and a caring person, and the friendships I have and how people feel about me, rather than these things that are kind of arbitrary, like how well a record sold or how many people came to a show, or things like that. You can like, or like, if someone didn't want to be my friend anymore,
Yeah,
like there are things in life that are just, they're just happen, and they have nothing, they're beyond your control. And if you let that kind of dictate how you feel about yourself, it can really do damage over time.
yeah. Well, that's a good message.
Yeah.
So anything you'd like to add before we wrap things up?
I would like to add that you're an awesome dude, and I'm so meeting you and your mom and your dad has been one of the coolest things about doing this band, and I'm really proud of you, seeing you've learned to play instruments and do this podcast, and you're like a real inspiration.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to Brian for joining me today, and thanks to all of you for watching or listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Spotify and other streaming platforms. Till next week, bye. And also, Brian, can't wait to see you Saturday.
Yeah, bud. I'll see you then.
See ya.